So what? I saw it.
These two young writers, Thomas brothers, they'd written this spec script, which was Predator, snuck on the Fox lot, and they snuck it under somebody's door. Literally, somebody came to work the next morning, and here was this script, and they read it, and it was this movie.
Knock, knock.
I'd worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger as an executive on Commando, and he was a really good friend of mine. We started talking to Arnold about the script. Arnold said, I think you should produce this movie. You never say no to Arnold, so I came on board, and the project was born.
Arnold, look a little more toward camera.
It's funny, the budget original film was like somewhere between $14 and $18 million. You can't make a movie for that amount of money in Hollywood today. But it was a less expensive time in filmmaking. It wasn't an expensive movie to make, but even at that, we ran out of money 2/3 of the way through the movie. Came back and showed the studio 2/3 of a movie and said, okay, you guys should actually finish it. So they went back and the third act was shot and there was a complete movie. The chemistry at that moment with the writers and the director and Stan Winston, and the pieces just came together. I know that a lot of filmmakers say to me that it had an impact on them, that it was one of their favorite movies from growing up. So I think that there are certain movies for all of us that when we're young are seminal experiences that keep us interested in a certain genre, that make us think in a certain way. I'm surprised that the movie has held up so well over all these years. A lot of movies, you go back and you see them, and they don't really hold up. This generation and the next generation of filmgoers, I think, find the experience of watching this movie equally satisfying.
If you watch the movie, it holds up so well, it's shot so well, it's lit very realistically.
I remember seeing the film opening night at the Avco on Wilshire in Westwood, California, with a bunch of classmates. And I remember coming away from the film remembering that it was very different than the average star vehicle. It was a film that was original and it held its own.
What I loved about Predator was how it played against expectations. Everyone expected another Commando type movie, and it starts off that way, but then switches gears and goes very horror, sci-fi, and it was refreshing to see something take that turn and become something else, and that's what I think gives it its cult classic status.
There were elements of horror, there were elements of action and drama, but it was its own thing, and I think that's what made it special.
Predator is very distinctive in that Frankenstein monster sort of way, like the action movie mixed almost straight down the middle with the sci-fi movie. I tried something like that on From Dusk Till Dawn because I was such a big fan of Predator. Starting off with a sort of Desperate Hours type movie and then switching completely to a vampire movie. That was a little more extreme, but I do like mixing up genres. When I saw that, I think that made an impression on me. People hadn't seen anything like that before. It was very out there. It almost takes on this sort of slasher movie aspect where the Predator is hunting down the characters one by one. And so there's this true sense of doom going on as they go into this very atmospheric, very claustrophobic jungle and get hunted down by this creature.
Billy, you know something. What is it?
There's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no man.
But unlike most slasher movies where you don't care about the characters at all, they're just sort of more meat for the grinder, you really love the characters.
We're all gonna die.
I've always liked the actor Sonny. I love how he's just in tune with the jungle and how no one in the group was really that scared unless Billy's scared. When Billy's scared, then you know you're up against something.
There's something in those trees.
And how he goes out, how he just chooses to turn around and fight. I thought the audience loved that.
The character of the Predator itself was something that was very cool and different. The intergalactic hunter was just a very interesting take on the science fiction genre.
What I think is so enduring about the Predator itself, it's humanoid, you can identify with it. People went to go see Arnold, but I think you walk away going, I think out of all those characters, I identify most with the Predator because he's a hunter, he's a powerful alpha character, and just taking him out one by one very quickly. He's pretty amazing character. I mean, when he shows up and he's got the dreadlocks and he's got the humanoid body, people had seen Alien, but they'd not seen something like this. It was closer to a human form. It was just very cool looking.
What the hell are you?
The most iconic scene for me is that one where he first comes out of the water and you see him for the first time. Even though it is a man in a suit, it didn't quite feel like that. It felt like it was its own being. And you didn't know what to expect because they didn't give away in the trailer that it takes its mask off.
Part of the success that the first film enjoyed was supported by the slow burn. And the tension, the suspense in the film was something that you hadn't quite seen. They took their time and they made a meal out of it.
When it does reach up and reveal his face, I think, that's the most iconic moment in the movie because you don't see it coming. And when he pulls off the mask, the audience is just holding their breath, wondering, what the hell does this thing look like? Suddenly it didn't look like a man in a suit. It looked like absolutely its own creature. They found this thing on another planet, brought it here and filmed it. That's what it felt like. I mean, it felt very real and the audience just lost it when they saw that. What really made the first one great was that the human characters went hand in hand with the Predator because that's the audience's in point to the movie. They have to identify with the human characters enough so that if the humans show fear, then they would show fear against what they're seeing.
What makes it good? I'm not quite sure. I think that if we were to dissect it, we would probably lose some of its allure. Like everything that's great, I don't think there's a recipe for it. Great things stand the test of time, and the filmmakers really hit something special when they found it.
A lot of people have said that movie was influential to them. Now, have they copied it in a way, shape, or form? I don't know that they have. But it was a movie that said to them, this is a cool genre. I want to make movies in this genre. There's stuff to do here that's really exciting and fun.
For audience that grew up with the original characters or movies, if it's done successfully, they love revisiting these things and seeing them reimagined. For new audiences, though, that never saw the original ones, when you have a classic character or story, it's a classic and can always be reconfigured or retold. This was probably 1993, 94. I was getting set to do Desperado, but I had about 6 or 7 months before I was going to shoot it. And my friend over at Fox, Peter Rice, who had seen Mariachi and had read the Desperado script, they were looking to develop a new Predator. I think they'd already done Predator 2 by that point, and they just wanted to take it in a different direction. It was never for me to direct. They were just trying to find a writer to come in with a fresh approach. I loved the jungle aspect of the original, but I knew we couldn't go back to the jungle because the second one took place in Los Angeles. But a jungle on another planet would make more sense because that would show why the Predator was attracted to the jungle atmosphere to begin with, because maybe on their hunting planet it had similar terrain. So that's the direction I took it in. And they kind of gave me free rein to just try something. I did. I tried a bunch of things. I just came up with a bunch of ideas. I thought, I don't have to direct this. So who cares what it's going to cost? I'll throw in everything cool that I would ever want to see in a Predator movie. Let those guys figure it out. Just for a title, I kind of a nod to Cameron's Aliens to Alien. I thought, well, it's been Predator and Predator 2. Let's just give them more. Let's give them more variety. My original script just went really far into that. You had a true hierarchy, almost like Planet of the Apes, but with predator creatures. After they'd gotten the first draft of it, they said, we really think we might be able to get Arnold for this. Could you go back and rewrite it with Arnold in there? So I went and I changed it and had it based where they were bringing Arnold to this planet. The last draft I have of it, and the last draft I turned in, had Arnold in it. Now, they didn't tell Arnold that they were going to try to write him the script. They just said, let's just write it for him, let's see if he'll do it. So by the time we got the script together and took it to him, I remember I went and pitched it to him. And the first thing he said was, first of all, we have to go back into the jungle. None of that city stuff. So I was like, well, it does take place in a jungle, but it's on another planet. So I pitched him the thing, but I think by that point he wasn't interested in doing another Predator movie. He was going to go off and do something else. And that's the last I heard of it until they were going to do they switched gears. I think based on the comic books, they decided to go the route of Alien versus Predator. Since they didn't have Arnold, they decided, well, let's just do something completely different, and they went in a different direction. These are just classic characters that, again, you walk into people's offices or their homes and you see little statues of these things. You don't want them just to die off 20 years later. Let's give it another try.